What's up, grinders? So tonight we have the story of a hyperpolyglot, someone who claims to speak 46 languages. Now, if you know anything about me, Evil Deer does not believe that people generally speak 46 languages. And if you do speak 46 languages, I need extraordinary evidence. And unfortunately for this polyglot, they did this stupid idea of making a video of them speaking 46 languages. And I just happen to know just enough people to almost cover all 46 languages. So in this video, we're going to be tearing the ass out of a hyperpolyglot's claim. Now, when I started on this little journey a couple of days ago, and I will reveal how it started, I thought this was the age-old story of a hyperpolyglot trying to sell some bullshit product, you know, using the fact that the majority of people don't speak these languages to his benefit in order to make money. And although that is 100% true in this case, this story actually takes a darker turn. And I'm kind of hoping by the end of this video, if this person ever sees this, it might actually help them turn a new leaf in life. And you'll see what I mean. But at the same time, I don't think that's going to happen. Because by revealing this, I probably put this person in a very difficult situation. Because I'm not even sure they want to be the person that they're showing themselves to be. I feel like they were basically bred into it. Okay, let's take a step back. So this story starts a couple of days ago when a friend of mine, an Esperantist, sent me this message. Kion vi pensas pri tiu viro kiu diras ke li kapablas flue paroli en kvardekses lingvoj, inkluzive Esperanton kaj Tokipona. So, what do you think about this person who speaks 46 languages, including Esperanto and Tokipona? Now, this person here is a very fluent Esperanto speaker. In fact, they're a native. And they were a little bit surprised with his Esperanto speaking capabilities. So, this is quite interesting. He made a video, in it he speaks some Esperanto, and it is quite good. Now, I will review that in due time. And according to this person, his pronunciation seems to be quite good. There is even articles written about his extraordinary memory capabilities, and here is the video. Now, this is the video in question. As you can see, the person goes through and shows off every single one of the languages they know. Now, don't worry, we will get to this. But first, I want to take a look at the article. Now, this seems to be a story, a lifetime in the making, at least 20 years in the making. Because you can see right here, meet the 19-year-old who can read, write, and type 400 languages. Now, for us people who exist within the language learning space, we straight up call bullshit when we see this type of stuff. But for your average normie out there, they actually believe this stuff, which is why I make these videos, because it can be quite disheartening to think, oh my god, there's someone who just so easily picks up all these languages, and I've spent the better part of 10 years struggling with one. So let's have a look at this person's claim. This is the person in question, and his story basically started with his dad and his school. So his dad has a language school, and his dad has basically been, I guess, raising him to be the ultimate expression of what you can learn at this language school. And to that end, he has even managed to get his son to take part in competitions in Germany, such as this one right here. Now, at first I didn't think this competition actually existed, but I did find one of my Discords actually found a link to a German video about this competition. Basically, at 10 years old, the boy took part in the competition, and he won the competition by translating individual words into 20 different languages. I don't know how many words, it doesn't say, but he had to do it within the span of an hour, and he beat 70 linguistic experts. But remember, this is a 10-year-old doing this. But when you think about this, at 10 years old, being able to do this into 20 different languages shows that this kid is highly capable. But like with most stories about hyperpolyglots and stuff, they usually are polyglots. Like, to sell a bullshit lie, it's better to be based in some kernel of truth, as the old saying would say. So once we dig into this article, things start to fall apart. Like, it becomes obvious what's kind of happened here over time. Now, the first part I kind of noticed as I was reading through, apart from all of that up there, is the things that he's said about language learning in general. For example, a polyglot's routine. Balancing this mastery, education, and teaching is no small feat. I wake up at 5 AM to practice languages for 2 hours every day as my brain gets most oxygen. You are not going to be able to maintain 46 languages or 400 languages according to this article on just 2 hours a day. Hell, I spend that on one language a day. And that is just to learn the language, not even to maintain it. Now, to maintain Esperanto, I'll spend, like 10 minutes a day maybe doing something with it, but then there'll be days where I'll spend several hours with the language. But here's where things also get some more interesting. Have a look at this thumbnail. I'll give you a couple of seconds if you can spot anything quite odd within the thumbnail. Look at the flags. Okay, I think that's probably enough time. You can always pause if you want. There's a Korean flag in here, but it's the North Korean flag. Now, you guys probably remembered that I jokingly said on my channel, I'm going to learn North Korean, like the accent of the North Korea, so that I could walk around Seoul speaking with the wrong accent type of thing. So I've obviously straight up saw this. And another thing is, I'm someone who loves flags. So straight up I noticed that. And I've also noticed that a lot of these languages are not the standard languages your polyglots go out and learn. They're the types of languages you might learn if you want no one to counteract what you've got to say. So I'll leave the article in the description. You guys can go through it yourselves. There's quite a bit of humor in here, I will say, but let's get to the juicy part. So we're going to start with the English, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch through this video with you all and pause it for each language and tell you my idea about his level in that language if I speak it. And if I don't speak it, I'm going to refer to others because I have collected critiques for pretty much every language here, bar a few that I could not find people that spoke those languages. But they're languages that not that many people generally go out and learn, so my assumption is that he doesn't actually speak them, and that is based on the fact that I've already reviewed all the other languages. Now let's start with the English. Just be prepared that this is English.
When a person claims against speaking numerous languages, it won't be a massive surprise that English on the list. I bet you guys were in shock when we speak English, right?
Okay, straight up, his English started okay, and then just completely deteriorated to the point where I actually didn't understand him without the subtitles. And I thought maybe this is like some Indian subcontinent accented version of English. Like, I'm not going to mock their English because they speak it differently to my own. But I've actually had people confirm that they don't even speak English like that over there. And I've also had other English speakers review this. Basically, as you can see on the screen right now, the summary is that they would need a translator if they were speaking with this person. Okay, now let's go to Hindi. Now, I actually assumed that he probably spoke this language fluently, along with the next language that comes up in the list, Urdu. So I'm just going to watch these two.
मेरा मातृम है, हालांकि मैं वाराणसी हूँ, मेरी मातृभाषा हिंदी नहीं है। असल में मैं तमिलनाडु से हूँ, जो साउथ इंडिया में एक स्टेट है। फॉरेनर्स को लगता है कि पूरे इंडिया में बस हिंदी बोली जाती है, लेकिन ये सच सही नहीं है। मेरी मतलब 70 to 80% लोग हिंदी समझते हैं, लेकिन मेरी मातृभाषा तमिल है। ज्यादा लोग सोचेंगे कि इंडिया में हिंदी बोली जाती है और पाकिस्तान में उर्दू बोली जाती है, मगर हिंदी और उर्दू असल में एक ही जबान है, बस स्क्रिप्ट और अल्फाज अलग है। हमारे पास एक टर्म भी है हिंदुस्तानी, जिसका मतलब हिंदी और उर्दू दोनों जबान है।
Okay, so even though he said he's not a native language, I assumed he was, and I got that assumption originally from the idea that that would give him a bunch of languages. Like, I just assumed he probably grew up with these languages, but it turns out he's not a native at all. So I guess the next question is, how good is his Hindi? And according to these comments, as you can see on the screen right now, it is understandable, but it's not great. Like, there are mistakes, and at times, for a Hindi speaker, they probably wouldn't understand him. Now, Tamil is his native language, so there's no critique of this.
வணக்கம். என்னோட காணொளி அனுப்ப அடிக்கடி பார்த்திருக்கும் நல்லா தெரியும். என்னோட தாய்மொழி தமிழ் மற்றும் பெரும்பாலான காணொளி அனுப்ப நான் தமிழ்ல தான் பேசியிருப்பேன். இந்த மொழி என்னோட தாய்மொழினால இதுவரைக்கும் நான் ஒரு சின்ன கஷ்டப்பட்டு கத்து கிடையாது இந்த மொழியை.
Okay, Mandarin Chinese. He's now stepping into my territory. First, I will give you my review, and then I'll give you reviews from both other learners and natives.
大家好，我是9岁，现在我是老师也是学生。什么？对啊，我现在在第一语文是已经第2了。空闲的时候我帮别人学各种语言，所以现在我真的是又是老师又是学生，明白了吗？
Okay, I feel sorry for his students because his Chinese started okay and then completely and utterly collapsed at different points in there where I had to 100% rely on the subtitles. And this is not complex Chinese. And if you're going to make such a short clip in the language, you'd probably practice it maybe once or twice beforehand to fix up these issues. Now, the main issues here is that he actually can't pronounce the sounds properly. There are certain sounds within Chinese which he's just not able to pronounce, and his tones are basically all over the place. Now, let's go look at what others have got to say. So we'll just jump to the native in the middle, and they say the exact same thing as me, even the same wording, because that native is my wife. And you can also see that some other learners of Chinese have tried to break down what he's saying, and they also struggled. So I would say his Chinese is very low level.
Auch, ich war noch nie in Ländern wie China, Hongkong, Macau oder Taiwan. Ich war nur mal in Singapur und das war einfach nur zum Spaß. Besonderes chinesische Videos. Als ich da war, habe ich mir gedacht, wäre schon cool, Chinesisch zu lernen. So habe ich dann angefangen, es zu lernen. Und Deutsch habe ich wegen Adolf Hitler und den Nazis gelernt. Na, nur ein Scherz.
Okay, obviously that was a joke. And this is the interesting one. So the comments are that basically his German is not too bad. And he makes mistakes which you would actually expect from a learner as opposed to someone who's trying to mimic the language. And if you remember back to that article, he went to Germany and took part in the competition. So I believe that this is actually a language that he does speak. And the comments from the people who are watching and reviewing this are the same. It's probably a bad B1.
我がの名前はシャドウ。影の潜む。影を変えるもの。はいはい、そうです。私はアニメの大ファンで64シリーズを感じました。それから漢字を上手させるために漫画も読み始めまして。日本語は私のとってエンターテインメントと学びを同時に当ててくれる唯一の言語です。実は日本語は私のお気に入りの第二語です。
So his Japanese was interesting because although it was understandable to those who commented on it, apparently he was speaking with a very stereotypical manga accent, and this actually pissed off one of the reviewers of this language. So it's hard to say, and he does mix up sounds, but it seems like he has actually dabbled with Japanese.
나는 애니메이션 보기 전에 K-드라마를 먼저 봤어. 한국어는 들었거든. 말하던 진짜 외노노야. 여주인공들이 오빠랑 싸울 때 목소리가 진짜 고엽지. 특히 폰 쏠 때는 더 고요. 하지만 나는 한국 여자랑 건 절대 데이트 안 할 거야. 얼가 구해서가 아니라.
Okay, of those who reviewed his Korean, the first comment was actually that of sadness because they were expecting the North Korean dialect as per the thumbnail. However, overall, his Korean doesn't sound like Korean and he was only really understandable about 50% of the time, and they basically relied on the subtitles.
Čakaj, so Korijanki priznaju ili me odmah pozivam. Ne bih privatio nijednu. Jere da se.
Okay, Bosnian proved a difficult one because I couldn't find a native speaker. However, the comments are that he basically has a very thick accent. He makes mistakes, although he used the grammar correctly at certain points. And it was basically hit and miss.
سعي للمجد والعليا مجدي لخالق السماء وارفع الخفض اختر يحمي النور المسطر ردد يا الله أكبر يا موطني استفخر مسلم عاش الملك للعلم والوطن عبد ما قلت أي دولة عربية لومان يمكن إيش في مسقط سنة كده تقريبا بس أسوأ شيء بالعربية هو اللهجة خليجي عماني نجدي حجازي مصري شامي جزائري مغربي يمني وعراقي كتير وجين يلا بس لهجتي المفضلة هي الإماراتية.
Okay, so he actually received good comments on his Arabic. Basically, his pronunciation was understandable, and it was probably the first language that they believed he had studied.
C'est le même de parler un peu de langue romaine. Le français, c'est clairement ma préférée dans cette famille. On dit que le français, c'est la langue de la mort dans le monde entier. La grammaire est pas trop compliquée, mais la prononciation, c'est pas facile. Le français, c'est facile pour les Européens, mais pour les Indiens, pas vraiment.
Okay, so the comments on his French were that he definitely made mistakes, some of them that were really bad mistakes for someone to be making at that level of French. If you're actually at the level that he's showing here, they would be something that basically a learner of the language would have to get right early on. And also that he had kind of a bad accent.
Me llamo Tokyo, pero cuando comencé esa historia no me llamaba así. Esa era yo y ese es el amor de mi vida. La última vez que lo vi, lo dejo en un charco de sangre con los ojos abiertos. Hicimos 15 atracos limpios, pero mezclar el trabajo y el amor nunca funciona. Así que cuando el segurata disparó, tuve que cambiar de profesión ladrona a asesina. ¿Nani?
Overall, the comments on the Spanish were that it was bad. And he's basically just reciting a piece from Money Heist, which is a Netflix show, and the character being Tokyo.
Pizza o pasta? A me piacciono entrambe. Quando vedo qualcuno che sta imparando l'italiano, parla sempre con quel gesto? Sul serio, non c'è uno studente di italiano che non lo faccia. Ormai è diventata quasi una moda. O forse dovrei dire un meme?
Okay, the comments on his Italian are that they seem to be better than Spanish, but I also have a comment here from a native Italian speaker, the third one being that, where they found a ton of holes in his Italian capabilities within that 18 seconds of speech.
Ako belajar bahasa Asia yang paling senang ni. Sebab dia tak ada artikel, tak ada conjugation, tak ada tenses, tak ada tata bahasa yang susah. And abjad dia pun senang gila. Tapi aku tak pernah pergi Malaysia, cuma banyak kali singkat clear untuk transit je.
The comment was here that he seems to be reading off a teleprompter. And as we go further and further through these videos, you'll see that this comment starts to become more evident, and I will point it out when it comes my time.
Bahasa Melayu sama bahasa Indonesia tuh hampir mirip banget kayak Urdu sama Hindi. Kalau kamu bisa bahasa Arab atau Belanda, pasti bakal nemu banyak kata serapan di bahasa Indonesia. Belum lama ini gue ke Indonesia, terus lihat orang-orang Aryan, hari kemerdekaan mereka. Dan gue suka banget sama negara dan orang-orangnya.
I couldn't get many comments on his Indonesian because I could not find someone who speaks Indonesian, but I did get one, which was basically that he just sounds like an Indian speaking Indonesian. So if anyone in the comment section below actually speaks Indonesian, or in fact any of these languages, and you can give a better analysis, please do so in the comment section for future viewers. Now, unfortunately, the next two languages, I don't have anyone who actually could review them, so we're just going to run through them.
Na mimi nafsi napenda chakula cha Indonesia zaidi kuliko cha Malaysia. Yani napenda chakula cha Malaysia pia, lakini ukiniuliza kipendo changu cha kwanza ningechukua Indonesia. Duyduma Türkçe'de çoğu yemakta tanınmış vermiş, denemek istemem valla tatlı sevmem. Ama Türkçe yine denemeyi düşünüyorum.
Okay, now you're stepping into my territory.
Homoy eble malamos consultin lingbon.
Straight up, he completely butchered the constructed languages, the pronunciation of that.
Mi amas tiun lingbon ne gravas tia belezzo.
Also, he's not following the accent pattern of Esperanto.
Au italo povas facile lerni Esperanton, sed chinano au japanano povas lerni ĝin, ne, ĉu ne?
Now, the way he said this last part, probably not right. It's like he's saying it in one way, but the emotion of the words don't match the words themselves, which makes me think that he's literally just gone out and memorized an Esperanto set phrase and doesn't actually truly understand like what it means. Like, you know when you say a word and you imbue an emotion within it? That's exactly what's happening here. It's really weird sounding. So my takeaway is that because Esperanto is a regular language, it's easy to pronounce and it's easy to mimic. However, he does not speak Esperanto. Okay, now we're going to go into Danish.
Mitt første favoritspråk dansk. I hvert fald i arabisk sprog. På grund af den plade, der findes i dansk, den berømte dessert, rører med før. Jeg kan ikke udtale det. Måske skal jeg spise en kartoffel for at kunne udtale det ordentligt.
The only comment I got on Danish was that he's not very good at it and he obviously struggles.
Uansett, det er sætningen som fik mig til at lære den skikkelig. Og så begyndte jeg at lære andre søsken om hette, norsk og svensk. Det er let for en europæer at lære andre europæiske sprog, men ikke for mig. Det føltes som om jeg lærte 3 forskellige sprog.
Okay, I actually got a lot of comments for Norwegian, funnily enough. Basically, the takeaway is that without the subtitles, he would not be understandable.
Enda älskar jag de här länderna. Danmark, Norge och Sverige är de mest fredliga länderna i världen. Enligt mig, jag skulle gärna vilja bosätta mig där direkt. Om möjligt skulle jag gärna bli kär i en skandinavisk tjej.
The comments for Swedish were basically that he was speaking Norwegian poorly. Now, I don't know if that is offensive to a Swedish speaker, but that was the comment that I did get.
Suomi on vaikea kieli. Ääntäminen oli helppoa, mutta kielioppi oli tosi vaikeaa. Suomessa yhdistetään paljon pieniä sanoja yhdeksi sanaksi isoksi. Pelkästään sen ymmärtäminen vei kuukausia. Me kuuntelin aina Ievan polkaa.
Okay, the comments here for Finnish, as you can see on the screen, were basically that it would be very difficult to hold any type of conversation with this guy, so maybe he's been learning Finnish, but he definitely does not speak Finnish.
Vides lingues sunt vitamea, cisne, cum 12 annos natus esem, noam linguam ipse inveni, illam atta appellavi, que significat pater. Hanc merablem ideam accepi ex linguis mortuis et linguis constructis.
Now, I've only dabbled with Latin and I never really learnt its pronunciation because it was not a priority for me, so I can't really talk to that. However, I did get some other Latin speakers to take a look, and as you can see right now, he is mispronouncing the language, which seems to be a common theme, that everything is mispronounced basically up until this point. Unfortunately, I don't have any comments for the next 3 languages.
Tean, et latina kelun surnut kel, aga sai arwa. Et surnut kel öpemina on teglikult Paris lövel mitmel wiesel, latina kelon Vaticanis, amitlet kel, se on ainult 2 kilometri kagisel. Niet me vime latina kelt öpemida surnut mehelt. Banda mudakoyon harsun Afrika ba. Tundayavan sinka sashen, Afrika suna amfanida faransanchi, larabchi, kochuranchi. Amma kodoyake, akal dolene in koyadaya. Kovasu daga chikin harsun Afrika, tundani hyperpolyglot ne. Sekata juhat Evropiane kana gramatica cachito complicuar, doată fem so juha existua eka apoyo, pervets desi kinesistia de indonésistia, pomira stuheta ankohom perkata apoyo, jadgaraften jazban un godra sachtnist, valitalafos o lahja rodoros jadgaraften sachta. Fakat onmoge ake adamaya boeme mitunen, maar rochom behaftman. Bidun incha soorten van hom pishbayad.
Okay, I could not find a native speaker of Persian, but I did find someone who spoke the language, and they said that they understood about 20%, and his accent was so strong, it sounded like he was speaking a European language.
Afilakshel ani adajin sarikh la shaper, harbat hamid tafshali beharba safot. Lishur bevim ta hamik ohi behol, agweim hasafot zeholech lichiot mamash kashe.
Okay, basically his pronunciation was hideous and they couldn't judge his capabilities from just that one clip. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone for Lithuanian.
Ash netrigimtayo, accento visose che to dve kelbu. Betne vieni terbieda, carta is pamirchur ko kizozi. Rai die grammatiche terima. Daugieli kelbu. Ik ben geen god, ik ben ook gewonnen mens. Tuurlijk vergeet ik soms wakker worden in sommige talen. Maar dat betekent niet dat ik haar maar moet laten. Ik doe mijn best om in al mijn geleerde talen perfect te worden.
Again, we get the same comment. Pronunciation is really poor. As you can see, this is now a theme across all languages. Unfortunately, I didn't get anyone for Mary in time.
Katira auki nga papuhi papuri nga atata TikTok, nga Reels o Instagram, nga atata rane o YouTube. Aka matagtaki rane auki nga, kiriatare aunga, kawakarago rane kewaya ka, ikangare ka rangi taku mohio. Недавно я приемпался на русский песни, особенно те, которые на TikTok. Дорого, ни один язык в мире сравнится с японским. Когда дело доходит до песен, как только я выбираю язык, сразу есть непосредственно на нем. И если он не крутый, то я начинаю учить этот язык. Кстати, русский мой сегодня любимый язык.
Okay, I had 2 different comments on the Russian. One said it was basically incomprehensible, and the other one said he may be able to order food on the street type of thing. But obviously that means he doesn't really speak the language to any high degree. Ukrainian is one of those ones where I don't have another native speaker.
Jak to prosto dodać? Belsze solite specją rosyjsku, otrzymujesz ukraińsku, ale kraще wczyć rosyjski nie ukraińsku. Bo ma się wysumie, Ukraini rozumieją rosyjsku, a вот на Rosjanie rozumieją ukraińsku.
Basically, his Ukrainian pronunciation was really odd and he wasn't understandable.
Ako to jest Marko Zahar. Metinjakavi mlečení produkty. Če poličiš bulgarski. Što to dva jedinstvenjet? Slavianski jezik bez loza gramatika, bez praženia, bez druzí požizenia, bez členové, bez rodové.
Unfortunately, I don't have anyone for Bulgarian. Again, if you guys speak any of these languages, even ones that I've put comments up for, and you want to give a deep dive analysis of his capabilities in that language, please put it down below. And for those who don't speak these languages or want to help this video get out, what you can do is like those comments, the ones that are actually giving a proper analysis on each one of his languages. And also, I know we're not through the whole video yet. I do want to say, if possible, share this video around so we can get as many people who are natives in these languages to give their analysis, because there is a whole school in India which is claiming that you can learn all of these languages through their course and their main teacher is the aforementioned.
Tinanong ako ng mga tropa ka, saan bansa daw yang pinangkasobrang ganda na mga baby? Sabi ko siguro China o kaya USA, pero sabi nila hindi. Russian girls daw ang pinakamaganda. Kaya yun nangaral ako ng Russian para makapag-flirt sa kanila.
As you can read from the Filipino comment right there, he doesn't really speak the language. Unfortunately, I don't have someone for Burmese.
Myanmar nga kaabayaw, sway mio sway si lale lo. Sutoy masatoy naibe, Myanmar sako sa yung chachi pilape. Polyglot ทุกคนชัดทำให้คนท้องถิ่นตกใจด้วยสำเนียงแบบเฉามา Inshallah.
Okay, without the subtitles, they were not able to understand him. His pronunciation was really off.
Ala pestep same. Ido piorisa shokoristun. Ako mo piopoli. An mathis mia closa. Pui peris potori. De niazo de namathon. Ya paradima anianas americanos. Mathike melisi bengalisti Bangladesh. Oli horatha ine etiminase padrefti.
The comment on his Greek basically implies that he does not speak Greek and he probably just got it translated because he doesn't know how to pronounce it. Again, stepping into my territory with Tokipona. Now, you would think Tokipona would be an easy win. Let's listen.
Janli lon tani lon Tokipona. Janli pilin ante tanlava en pilin musi.
I literally have to listen to that again.
Tani lon Tokipona. Janli pilin ante tanlava en pilin musi.
Okay, he never learnt Tokipona. I don't know where he got the text from, but it is very evident that he's basically speaking it like a weird mix between Esperanto and English because he's pronouncing the J's as English J sounds when they are a Y sound. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone from Nepali.
Matapailai banchahan chu kimai 40 wata bashama sabema say pratishit provinchain kikima harek bashama parak starmachu.
Okay, interesting comment there as he's saying he's not 100% fluent in all these languages. At the end, I will give you my comments on this, but I don't even think that is a justified comment. Okay, now let's look at Zulu. Basically, it was too short for them to comment. He just shouted something and he had a bad accent. I don't have any comments for the next two languages, and you'll notice that each language section is now getting shorter.
Africa.
Apparently, long live every country.
Vietnam, Nam.
Even though it was one sentence in Vietnamese, a native did not understand it. And I'll play through the last two languages even though I don't have comments for these.
Afghanistan. Okay, ikipongkasan video, indalan sampayang, matunon, ketemu.
Okay, now let's look at the comments section, because if you've messed up so many languages, you would assume that people would basically call you out on those languages. Now, this is the YouTube channel that belongs to the school, and if you look at the comments, nearly all of them are completely positive. And the only ones that are not positive are basically ones that have been posted like this in the last 8 hours. So what's happening here is quite evident. They're deleting any negative comments. Okay, so what seems to be happening here, and this is pretty obvious to anyone within the language space, is there's a couple of tricks that are basically happening. He's gotten scripts for each one of these languages. Maybe he asked natives, maybe he didn't, maybe he just used online translation systems, because some of them use good grammar and some of them didn't. And as evident from the languages I speak, he's then just mimicked them. Now, with Tokipona, he obviously didn't know anyone who spoke Tokipona, and he didn't even spend 2 seconds learning the phonology of Tokipona, which would be so easy to do. It's the easiest language to add to your list, and he screwed it up big time. So he's obviously gone, got a script, and then he's listened to it probably a couple of times, and now he's mimicked it. And due to the fact that he comes from a multilingual country, he probably has a good range in his ability to pronounce foreign sounds. However, even in that case, he stretched it way beyond its limits, and he basically messed up a bunch of languages. Because the mistakes that he made in Esperanto and Toki-Pona are mistakes that you wouldn't make if you actually spent time learning the language. Like, these are things you need to learn in the first week. You need to learn the accent for Esperanto, and it's a very easy rule. And you need to learn how to pronounce the actual sounds of Toki-Pona. And then, of course, it's the same with Latin. Now, I can't talk to the other languages, but I guarantee you what's happened here is that he's probably studied German to a B1 level. He's played around with Japanese and maybe with Arabic, and maybe touched on a tiny bit with a couple of other languages. Now, he said in the video he doesn't claim to speak them 100% fluently. This is kind of a trick of words right now, because if you only knew the bare minimum of these languages, you wouldn't even use the word fluent. You would say, this is a list of the languages I've dabbled in, and this is me attempting to speak those languages. Now, based on the story that I read in the article, and the competition he took part in, it was a translation exercise, one word to one word. And he seems to focus a lot on the written language. So I have the belief, basically, based on this and all the comments that I've seen so far, is that realistically, he's probably no more of a polyglot than I am. Like, we probably speak a similar amount of languages. And I don't go around claiming to speak 47 languages. I don't say, well, I don't speak them 100% fluently, because I've probably dabbled in 47 languages. But there's no way in hell I'm going to make a video of me attempting to speak those 47 languages. For those who don't know, most of the languages I've dabbled in have actually been constructed languages, so most of you probably wouldn't even be able to critique me anyway. But that's besides the point. Now, what I'm hoping is going to happen now is the language learning community is going to unite and write out comments, especially for those languages that I couldn't get critiques for, and provide, more information about those that I could. And for the person who features in this video, what I hope happens for you is that you're obviously an intelligent guy. You've won competitions since you're a young age. You obviously know at least some other languages. You've studied them. Drop this bullshit idea that you speak 47 languages. Because if you do plan to do anything in the language learning community, your reputation is tarnished forever. And in fact, this video may be the destructive force for that. So you're going to have to somehow recover from this. Now, I also said at the start that I feel like maybe you were pushed into this because you were basically groomed from a very young age. And I'm not trying to attack your family or anything, but you were groomed from a very young age to play a role as the face of this school. This school has a hyper-polyglot, fluent in all these different languages. And this is going to be a difficult pill to swallow if you haven't swallowed it already. But you're going to have to face that in some way or another, because this is going to follow you around. Now, I get the feeling also that you're trying to escape from this in some way, because I read in the article that you want to become a designer. Anyone who spends that amount of time seriously learning that many languages has devoted their life to language learning, and they want to do something with languages as part of their career. So if you're learnt all these languages and now you want to be a designer, this actually tells me that you haven't learnt all these languages and you're trying to find an out. Hopefully this video can be an out for you. That's pretty much it. If you guys have liked this video, I don't know if that's the right word, but if you've learnt something from it, please leave a comment below, and I'll see you all in the next video, and hopefully it's not another video like this one.